Oh, success! Not bad for a first pour. A little bit of machining to do on that. Man, that's hot. Had a bit of trouble with those first ones when I was melting down the cans. This is Coke cans, these ones, and I burnt a hole through the side of these things. I didn't leak out any aluminium, it's just I bashed a hole, see how strong they were after 2 or 3 hours of melting down aluminium cans. So I've made 2 new ones, cut out that one. I've got huge big length of pipe here. I can make shitloads more of them. That slag that was in the bottom, I thought it was slag, but that doesn't seem to be melting the very bottom of the crucible. There's a bit of stuff that was not melted properly. I'll show you what I'm up to up here anyway. I need to cast this wheel, which has replaced this backing plate, because I need to know the height of the chain, and once I know the height of the chain, then I can finish building this little bogie. That bogie there is that one there. Okay, so if we put that in there, that's the height of that thing, so for where that sits down. This is back to front at the moment. That's the front, and that's the back. There's 100 mils to the front, like 130 or something to the back. So when the front, like if this is the back at the moment, when that pulls up, it takes a lot more power to pull the front one up than the rear. So because that'll have a bit of a chain coming up like that, and it'll want to pull up itself anyway. I was going to make, that's also got, I'll weld a big chunk of steel on that, and it'll support down like that as well. It'll be a bit of this 40 by 8 or 40 by 10 I think it is, coming flat, coming down like that, and then sitting down through the bolt so that can rock. Also probably have to have a triangular gusset in there just to stop it kicking backwards if I hit something head on, which the chain should ride over if I hit something head on. I've also made these little guides, and the guides sit in the wheels, but they're very cunning. They actually sit up against the bearing, so the guides can rotate, the wheels can also rotate, so no matter what happens, the guides can go round or the guides can stay still. They've got a little bit of flare on them. If you have a look, you can see a bit of flare. I've pressed them out just a little bit, and that gives me just a little bit of leniency if the chain isn't exactly straight for any way. So we've got one bogie there, and then we'll have another bogie sitting at the back about there, and this one will be the same. It'll raise in the front very, very easily, and the back will raise enough just to come up and just not touch that wheel. I don't know if I said before, but I think I did go over the motor with you. I'm missing, just for my build, I've got 2 of these that comes off the motor here, and I'll have this will be a stub axle that'll go up to there and it'll be pinned, and this one and that bearing housing will be welded together. There'll be a plate going across the top to weld them together, and I'll have a I don't know if you can see in there, I'll have a bolt that just screws up to there, and it'll push it there for tensioning the chain, and these will work in conjunction with each other. Now I'll get another one of these. It's got a little cast iron bush in there, and I'll bore a hole through there, and that will sit with a stub axle with the sprocket on that side and this wheel on this side. I've still got to cast a couple of these wheels here, cast a couple of aluminium ones of these. I need 2 of those. The actual plastic, this is very, very tough plastic. If I made them out of plastic, I bet you those would last forever. They wouldn't wear out in a hurry. But I might just cast an aluminium one anyway, to see how we go. Originally I was going to have the wheels off here, and I was going to have an arm going down onto that wheel so that could pivot up and down as that each individual roller went up and down. And then in the inside I would have another arm coming up on there, and as that came back I was going to put a valve spring, a car head valve spring sitting in there, and it would compress back in as this wheel came up and down. But I think for the strength of it and everything, I think these bogies will do the trick. I think they just like tandem trailer bogies, they'll go up and down, and they'll give it a smooth one. The only thing that won't move will be the chain underneath this rear sprocket, underneath the rear roller. That won't move, that'll be dead stationary. And this one here will be the guide for the rear roller, to keep the chain in the centre of the rear roller. I'll cut out all my tracks, the tracks, the cleats, and the chain. Oh, there's the chain. So I'm not going to use all that. I don't need all that. But the tracks alone with the chain are 52 kgs. I think that's £100 or something like that. The rails, the frame of it's going to be around about 10 kgs. So I've still got to put a piece across the back and another piece across the front. There's also subframe in here. There's a lot of subframe to hang onto the motor and the gearbox. So just the frame and that, we're probably looking at probably 70 kgs. The motor is about 15 kgs, maybe a bit more, maybe 20. I think actually it might be 20. So we're getting on 100 kgs just without having any other bits and pieces, the body work and all that. So she's going to be pretty heavy. Well, that's getting up to 200 pounds, I think. I've also got to put these bearings here. One fits down in the bottom and one on the top, like that, and that takes the top sprocket, and the other one takes the bottom sprocket to transfer it from the bottom of the petrol motor up to here. Yeah, the biggest thing was waiting for the Pewtec, or whatever they call it, to mix the concrete to build this the furnace with. I changed that a little bit. I was a little bit over jetted before, and the fuel mixture inside the container was too rich, and so it meant the flame was burning out the top here. When I took that out before, the whole centre was completely red hot, and well, you can still put your hand on the side, but it's too hot to hold it on forever. You'd get definitely burnt if you held it on there for too long. So yeah, that's not too bad. Here's our little, looks like a cake, icing sugar on it. So we'll get two, and we'll lay that down and turn it into a nice wheel. Hopefully it's going to fall out. If it doesn't fall out, I've got a pin at the bottom I can put on the press and press it out, so it's not too bad. As soon as I've got this done, I'll have the bogies finished. Well, on one side I'll finish all the bogies and all the track gear on one side, and then I'll just copy it on the other side. And so when I do the first side, I'll do another video and show you that. Maybe another week. That's the finished product of all my hard work. It's not perfect. The little hole just here was a punch hole that I put to drew a little punch piece of steel through to punch out the plate that was sitting on this side in the mould. That one there, I tried drilling some holes with that one to try and lever it out, but in the end had to use a little punch to punch it out. I just put a bit of filler in those, and I'll fix those before I paint it. It'll just be black. So I suppose for my very first effort, it's very first time casting something, it's probably not a bad effort. It'll do.